Hey JCA, happy Sunday. I'm happy to be back with you guys today, and I'm already cooking up a storm in my kitchen. So join me for this Asian style meal today. I'm really excited to change up the flavors a little bit and give you some new ideas for a healthy meal that is, I'm not the type of dietitian that counts calories. I don't usually, except for some individual circumstances, I don't usually give people a calorie count, like an 1,800 calorie per day diet or a 1,200 calorie per day diet. I don't do that. So that is why I don't like to say this is a low calorie meal. However, it is a low calorie meal if you are counting your calories. The reason I don't tell people to count calories is because I believe that if you're choosing the right types of foods and if you're eating healthy choices, choosing the right foods in the supermarket, getting nutrient dense and nutrient diverse diet, your body will regulate the calories that you need, and you will feel full when you are supposed to feel full, and you will end up portioning your meals appropriately. If you are eating healthy, if you're choosing whole, unprocessed foods, nutrient dense and nutrient diverse foods, and you are still unable to lose weight, then it is likely because there is something else going on in your body that is inhibiting you from weight loss. That could be stress, that could be a hormonal imbalance, that could be inflammation. So I don't like to count calories because I don't think that is the solution to losing weight. The solution to losing weight is choosing healthy foods, nutrient-dense, nutrient-diverse foods, and then addressing another imbalance that is taking place in your body that is inhibiting you from losing weight. And those are the types of things that I work with people on. I really do understand your individual health background, your medical history, your lifestyle and diet, and I learn what is that underlying root cause that is inhibiting you from losing weight. So it is not usually, if you've tried dieting so many times in your life, if you've tried cutting back your portion sizes, and you've tried these like short-term extreme diets, and you just keep sort of yo-yoing, losing weight and then gaining it back, and losing weight and gaining it back, there is likely something else going on that needs to be addressed, and it is not necessarily just that you're eating too many calories or your portion sizes are too big. So those are the kinds of things that I really do work with people on. But getting back to what I'm making today, it is healthy and it is a low-calorie meal. And it is nutrient-dense, nutrient-diverse, and it is whole, unprocessed foods. And I can go through all of that, explaining to you what I mean by all those terms in just a minute, but let me tell you what I have. So over here, I have stir-frying some green peppers, orange carrots, and brown mushrooms. I have portobello and shiitake mushrooms. So mushrooms are so delicious, and they are like the brain food. They are good, healthy for your brain, your cognition. They have magnesium and potassium, which are all nutrients that your body needs for immune function and for energy, for mood. So mushrooms are super healthy. Carrots have the nutrient called beta-carotene, which turns into vitamin A in your body, and vitamin A is equally as important as vitamin D. You've heard so much about vitamin D being necessary for our immune system. So is vitamin A. They are just as important. The only difference is that you don't need to go out in the sun to get exposed to vitamin A. so that's why it sometimes is harder to get vitamin D if we're not outside in the sun. But vitamin A you can get from your diet. So maybe that's why people don't emphasize it as much, but it's just as important and we need to get it in our diet. So vitamin A is one way of getting the precursor for vitamin A, that important vitamin. And then green peppers, the green color of all of our foods are super healthy antioxidants, great fiber in all of these vegetables, and it already smells so good in here. I always feel so sad that you guys can't smell the food that I'm cooking. But I purposely started early today because I wanted these vegetables to be brown at the beginning of my video, and they already are. I have it on a pretty high heat. You can also make this same meal actually in a wok, and it would be really Asian style by cooking it in a wok at a high temperature. You don't even need to use oil. When you're using a wok, you could just put it at a really high temperature and put everything in, and it gets cooked much faster. But I'm going to be using this pan today. I did use a little bit of avocado oil to start heating up my mushrooms, peppers, and carrots. Again, I always put things in the order that it takes to cook, so that's why I put those vegetables in there first. They take a little bit longer. I'm now going to pour in my onions because that also needs to start cooking up in here. And what I love about this dish is, number one, it is whole and unprocessed food. What does that mean? If you picture walking around the perimeter of your supermarket and you see all the fruits and the vegetables and meats that are raw and you have to prepare from scratch at home, you can imagine that those foods were found, the way they are in the supermarket is the way they were found in nature, which means there was no processing in the way that it became from, that it was picked in nature, to the way that it gets into the supermarket, to the way that it lands in your house on the table. So when a food is not processed, when there is nothing taken out of it or nothing added to it, then that is the form that it was found in nature, and that means your body will recognize it as a food and it will digest it appropriately. When we start adding ingredients that our brain and our eyes don't recognize as a whole food, neither will our gut. And when the gut bacteria and the cells in our gut do not recognize an ingredient as a real whole food, then it will cause inflammation. What does that mean? That means that your body will send out immune cells to get rid of this foreign ingredient. The same way your body would send out immune cells if you were exposed to a germ or if you were exposed to high stress. All of these things are reasons for your body to send out immune cells, and that is a process called inflammation. So many people talk about inflammation, and then I get so many questions on, well, what is inflammation and how do we know if we have it? We know we have it if you are experiencing symptoms that you cannot explain. Headaches, joint pain, mood imbalances, fatigue, any symptom, indigestion, abdominal pain, bloating, any symptom that your body gives you that is uncomfortable and that you don't like and you don't understand why you're having that symptom, it is a sign of some type of inflammation. So the next question is, let's learn what is triggering your body's inflammatory response. Is it a food that you're eating? Is it a nutrient deficiency? Is it stress that you're experiencing? Is it a hormonal imbalance or a lack of good bacteria in your gut? All of these different examples are reasons that would cause this inflammation or inflammatory response that we hear so much about. And those, when you are experiencing inflammation, you can't lose weight. I'll tell you why. Let me give this a mix before my food burns. Why can't your body lose weight when you're experiencing inflammation? The reason is because when your body is sending out immune cells to clear a toxin, a foreign ingredient, a stress hormone, when your body is focused on that process of inflammation, it cannot be focused on having a fast metabolism and digesting food appropriately to help you lose weight. So instead, the body will say, we're gonna store these calories as fat while we work on removing this inflammation or inflammatory response. So your body can only do really one of these things at a time, and if it's focused on inflammation, it will not be focused on weight loss. Okay, hold that thought. I'm gonna add a little bit of ghee to my pot as an additional type of fat. Ghee is clarified butter. So it actually is a healthier version of butter for two reasons. Number one is that it has a higher smoke point, so I can cook at very high temperatures, and the fat in ghee won't burn as easy as it does in, let's say, olive oil, which has a lower smoke point. The second positive about ghee, which is, by the way, I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like, and I don't know if you can see that backwards or forwards, but it says G-H-E-E is ghee. And the second reason why I like it better than butter is because it has something called short chain fatty acids. Short chain fatty acids is a really long, fancy way of saying the type of compounds that is released by the gut bacteria. We talk about gut bacteria all the time. Having that layer of good bacteria in your gut is what keeps us healthy. That gut bacteria is responsible for releasing serotonin and dopamine, so that's responsible for our mood. That gut bacteria is responsible for our immune system and our digestion. Our body is basically run by the bacteria that live throughout our body and in our gut. And one of the things that they do is they release these short chain fatty acids, which are especially healthy for our digestion. And that is what is found in ghee. So as opposed to butter, butter does not contain those short chain fatty acids, but ghee does. So that's another positive. The two positives about ghee is that it has a higher smoke point, and the second thing is that it has the short chain fatty acids that are so healthy for us. Okay, so right now I already have my peppers, mushrooms, carrots, and onions, which are all whole, unprocessed foods that are packed with vitamins and minerals. All the different colors of the rainbow are there. And then what I'm going to add next is a whole big bunch of sliced bok choy. So I have this bok choy sitting in a bowl of clean water because that's the best way to clean any leafy greens, is just stick them in a big bowl of water and let the dirt just settle at the bottom of the bowl. So the bok choy does come with some dirt in its edges, in the bottom, like sort of the roots. And so that's why I have them sitting in this bowl of water to get the dirt to settle at the bottom. What I'm gonna do is put this in here, and I have that pot now at a pretty high temperature because this bok choy is going to add lots and lots of water and moisture. And so I really want that water to evaporate out a little bit. And that is why I first browned my other vegetables, because if I added all this extra water to the pot, those other vegetables would not have browned. So I first browned my peppers, carrots, onions, and mushrooms. Now I'm adding this wonderful bok choy, which I had sitting in a bowl of water to help the dirt settle to the bottom and leave the leaves clean. Okay. So you can hear it sizzling away over here. I wish you could smell it. That would be really the best part. And then I wish you could taste it later tonight. That should be better, actually. Okay, so what I'm planning on doing here is letting some of the moisture from the bok choy evaporate out, and also let them wilt a little bit so that they're a little bit more tender and easier to chew later today when we plan on eating this. And while I let that cook away, I will tell you what else I plan on for this dish. Okay, so this is going to be somewhat of a fish stew. So I have fillets of cod right over here. Hope you can see that. I order my wild caught fish from a company called Wild Alaskan Company. It's a website, wildalaskancompany.com. And I order my fish. It comes in a box. You can choose if you want a box of only white fish, a box of salmon and white fish, or a box of just the salmon and other types of, I think it's all salmon. So I have that come in a box. You could choose if you want it to come once every month or once every other month. But I love them because it's wild caught. And if you go through their website and you see the way they source their fish, it's really an awesome company, and I really do love them a lot. Okay, so what I have here is the cod fillets, like I explained. What I did was I took paper towel and I dried them as much as I possibly can. I'm really trying to take out all that moisture that was just sort of leaking on the edges. And another reason why the same explanation as I gave you for the bok choy is I'm going to try to sear the outside of this fish in the pot, and if it's too moist, then that won't happen. That searing won't happen. Okay, so let me give this thing a mixture. And as I always say, I like to save all of my seasonings toward the end because I want my vegetables to brown. Another reason why letting that moisture come out too soon will prevent the browning process. So I'm going to save that to the end. I could see that everything is already wilting nicely here. And so my flavor combinations for this meal is going to be, like I said, Asian style. So I'm really going to try to mix in my garlic and ginger. I also made a little fish sauce that I'm going to save for the end to describe to you because that's my secret ingredient for the end. And I'm also going to use sesame seed oil. I have an organic sesame seed oil to add that Asian flavor into this meal. Okay, so I have my vegetables, all the carrots, onions, mushrooms, and peppers were browned first in some avocado oil and a little bit of ghee, which has that high smoke point so it doesn't burn, and it releases short chain fatty acids, which is really healthy compounds that is released by the good bacteria in our gut. Then I added in the bok choy, which I put the temperature on pretty high when I added the bok choy because that's gonna the bok choy is gonna add a lot of moisture to the dish, and I really want the moisture to evaporate out. So then finally, when I see that this is sort of getting all cooked and ready, the bok choy is wilted a little bit and the moisture you can see is pretty dry in that pot. So what I'm going to do is lower the temperature all the way down as far as it goes, and I'm going to add my 4 or 5 cloves of garlic and about a teaspoon of ginger that I minced all together. And I definitely want to add some fat to that. So I'm going to add another little spoonful of the ghee so that the ginger and the garlic have something to cook in. I don't want it to just be totally dry. I don't want that garlic to burn. I really want to add a little bit of fat and moisture to it so that it cooks a little bit better. Okay. So once you add that garlic and that ginger, you can imagine the aroma in this kitchen, right? You smell that almost immediately when you add it to the pot. And what I'm going to do is just let that ghee melt up a little bit and watch that garlic and ginger sort of melt into this dish. It's a pretty simple meal, actually. When you think about it, it's all one pot. It's not too many different ingredients. Just chopping up those vegetables is really the longest part. And I will talk about cutting a little bit. Let me talk about that. So the best thing is to have a really great chef's knife. This is one I have experimented with many chef's knives throughout the time that I have been cooking, and I finally found one that I do really love. So if you are interested in learning more about the one that I like, write me a little comment or a note on this post, and I will give you a link to the one that I've tried before, the one that I use now. I even have a couple of different price points, so if you don't want to spend your whole entire paycheck on one knife, then you don't have to. But it's really good to have very sharp knife. The sharper, the better, because that will prevent you from hurting or cutting yourself. And having a handle that you feel very comfortable with, that it's light, not heavy, it doesn't hurt your hand when you're cutting. And then it's good to have a really good cutting board that you can lay flat on the counter, doesn't have any stand or anything, really keeping this flat and sturdy on the counter. And then what I recommend is that when you're cooking, always try to make it so that the vegetable, I wish I had an example, maybe the onion I'll use here, so that whatever vegetable you're cutting, make a flat edge on the vegetable so that you can sit the vegetable flat on the cutting board and it's not moving around like that. So whatever vegetable, it doesn't matter how big or how round it is, the most important thing is to make that flat edge on the vegetable so that it doesn't roll around, and you can use one hand to hold it flat against the cutting board, and then you can use your knife like this on the side, whatever side of the vegetable you're cutting. So I hope that helped. Maybe one time I'll do a whole session on chopping skills, because I think that's super important. We spend most of our time cooking, chopping vegetables and preparing all that, and so we definitely want to make it more efficient. We don't want to hurt ourselves. So I will absolutely can do a whole half hour on just chopping skills, I believe. Okay, so let's review everything that I have going on. First, I browned a grouping of colorful vegetables full of all different vitamins and minerals that our body needs. That's carrots, mushrooms, onions, and peppers. So I did at the beginning of this video, so if you missed it, you can go back and review, but I explained how each one of those vegetables has a different vitamin or mineral that our body will need in the process of life, right? So it's so important that we're getting nutrient sufficiency in our diet. Then, after that was all browned, I added in a big bunch of bok choy, which is a green leafy vegetable in the cruciferous family. So things like Brussels sprouts and broccoli and bok choy, they are all in this grouping. Cabbage is another one of cruciferous vegetables. You know what's really especially healthy about cruciferous vegetables is that they are protective against breast cancer. The reason is because estrogen is a female, or well, actually I shouldn't say female, it's a hormone that men and women both have, and it can be a little bit toxic if your body is not eliminating it in a very protective way. So cruciferous vegetables force estrogen to be eliminated in a protective way so that we are not getting the consequence of breast cancer. So cruciferous vegetables, I cannot say enough how important those are. You should be eating a source of cruciferous vegetables every single day. Some other nutrients that do that same process of protecting us against breast cancer are flax seeds, soy, which I have some mixed feelings about soy in the United States because unfortunately soy, it has many, is very genetically modified, and it also contains lots of pesticides. So I don't eat too much soy or tofu or tempeh in the United States, but there are other ways of getting those nutrients into your diet. So flax seeds, omega-3 fatty acid, which is what you get from eating healthy fish, fatty fish, and all these cruciferous vegetables. Those are a few of the examples of the types of foods that can really help protect and prevent breast cancer. Okay, so I have my garlic and ginger all melted up now. I'm gonna mix everything together, raise the temperature again because I did lower it before in order to add my garlic and ginger because I did not want those to burn. And now is just about the right time to season my food. It's all cooked, it's all browned, there's not much moisture, it was all evaporated out, and by seasoning my food at this point, I won't be impacting the ability of the food to brown. So I'm gonna add some salt, and I'm actually gonna be a little bit lighter on my seasoning today because I'm really just trying to stick with my Asian flavoring. So I'm just going to be adding salt, pepper, garlic. Even though I added some minced garlic, I don't feel like there's never too much garlic. I'm going to be adding some more ginger powder, even though I already added some minced ginger, some onion powder, and then my last one is a little bit of chili powder. I probably should have brought out my mustard powder. I'm actually going to do that. You know why? I'm going to explain to you why. It's for a health reason, actually. So, do you know when you add mustard powder to cruciferous vegetables, it helps the cruciferous vegetables release that really healthy compounds that I was explaining will help protect against breast cancer. So adding mustard, anytime you cook mustard powder, to anytime you cook a green vegetable like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, bok choy is an example, it is super, super helpful in making that food even more healthy and helping you protect yourself against certain types of cancer, including breast cancer. So I love adding mustard powder to my vegetables. Okay. So right about now, we're at the end. I'm going to separate all these vegetables, make a little spot for my codfish, which I'm going to sear. But before I do that, I am going to add a little bit of sesame seed oil because again, I'm trying to stick with that that Asian flavoring, and sesame seed oil also has a very high smoke point, so you can cook at high temperatures when you're using sesame oil. So examples of other oils that can be used in high temperatures are, like I said, the sesame seed oil is a good one, except I only use a little bit of that because it does have a very strong flavor. But also avocado oil, coconut oil, and ghee are all examples of fats that you can use when you're cooking at really high temperatures. And I didn't even season my fish. I wanted that to sear with a little bit of brownness on both sides, and then I'll season those after. Same idea that I used with the vegetables. I browned first and I will season after. Again, because once you add that salt or that seasoning, it causes moisture to come out and the food doesn't brown as much. So you can see here, I love this meal. I have all the different colors of the rainbow. I have nutrient density, nutrient diversity, and if you missed what I said in the beginning of today's video, I recommend going back and checking it out because I don't like calling this meal low calorie, although it is low calorie, but I don't like counting calories. That is not something that I do. I normally don't put people on a specific calorie diet, like a 1200 or 1300 calorie diet. I don't do that. And please go back to the beginning of this video to hear me explain why that is not one of the ways that I counsel patients. But in the meantime, I don't want to let my fish burn. So, what am I looking for? My tongue. So I'm really just trying to sear the outside of this, because what I'm going to do to cook it through and through is I'm going to add my secret sauce, and then I'm going to let it sort of simmer in the sauce to really cook it through and through. So right now I'm just trying to, yep, it's already sort of browning on one side. I had added some sesame oil to the bottom of the pan just before I added the fish, so that the fish can cook in that sesame oil. I'm going to season the side of the fish that already browned, because now I don't have to worry about letting the moisture come out a little bit. So that's just salt, pepper, a little bit of chili powder, garlic, ginger, and onion. Those are my ones that I added. And then in the end, I add a little bit of mustard powder, which I won't forget. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so good tonight. I really wish that you were here to taste this. So please go ahead and make it. So now I'm gonna tell you about my sauce, because that's really the end step here. So this is what it looks like, just a little weird little brown mixture, but I'll tell you what's in it. Okay, so I have a little bit of rice wine vinegar. That's a very sort of Asian style vinegar to use. I love adding a little acid anytime I'm making a sauce. There always has to be some acid. I always like to have a little bit of sweet, so there's a little bit of honey, so probably like a little less than a teaspoon. Probably a big tablespoon or more of mustard, because I add mustard to everything I eat. I have some coconut aminos, which is my replacement for soy sauce, and I explained a few minutes ago why I don't eat a lot of soy. It's very genetically modified, has lots of pesticides, so coconut aminos found right in the condiment aisle next to where you would buy like teriyaki sauce or soy sauce. And then a little bit of fish sauce I used, and a little bit of hot sauce. So I mixed all that together to make this delicious sauce right here. What I'm going to do is turn my fish over and season the side that I did not season yet. And then I'm gonna add the sauce and sort of just let everything simmer until the until the fish is flaky. And then it's all gonna be ready. Really, that was not a very difficult way of making a totally new flavor, a totally new style of food to your regimen, and it's healthy. It's so healthy. Again, if you're interested in where I get that fish, I explained before, I order wild caught fish from a company called Wild Alaskan Company. You can go to their website, wildalaskancompany.com, and you can order the fish to come in a box on a regular basis, once every month or once every other month, however you would like. Okay, it is about time now that I'm going to add, you know what, before I even do this, I just want to add a little bit more sesame seed oil, because I am looking for that yummy flavor in my food. And then I will add my sauce. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so amazing. I'm going to serve this with a little bit of rice, which that will If you've heard any of my videos in the past, you will know that I always talk about how to construct a plate, and having a good source of resistant starch like rice, potatoes, beans, those kind of things is a very important part of constructing a very healthy plate. Okay, so it's all there here, folks. We have my fish, all my nutrient-dense, nutrient-diverse vegetables. What I'm gonna do is just cover this, or actually I'll probably cover it and leave it a little bit, just a little tiny bit open, just to let some air through, but I'm gonna let it simmer until the fish is flaky and delicious, and I'm going to add it to some rice for dinner tonight. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I really look forward to hearing your comments and questions. Let me know how I could help you. Check out the nutrition services that are available for the JCA. I'd love to work with you individually, but have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.